Our next story comes from Nigeria. The West African country is reeling from attacks. At least 160 people have been killed over the weekend. This killing spree happened. The so-called Bandit Militias attacked about 20 communities in central Nigeria. The bandit gangs are active in the central and northwestern regions. They regularly attack villages and kidnap residents. Sometimes they also join hands with religious extremists and bring a religious angle to the conflict. And for years, Nigeria has struggled to deal with them. Our next report brings you the details.
Bandit militias struck Nigeria over the weekend. They hit at least 20 communities in central Nigeria's Plateau state, leaving a trail of destruction and bodies behind. The numbers are still coming in, but at least 160 people have lost their lives. Over 300 are wounded. The Plateau state's governor called the attack barbaric, brutal and unjustified. Local leaders are urging the government to act. The governor has promised proactive measures, but the locals don't seem to be taking any chances. Some residents of the affected villages have begun leaving. They're packing up their belongings and fleeing. Nigeria has failed to bring the bandit militias to heel for years now, and the villagers don't seem to think anything will change soon. Nigeria's bandit problem has persisted for years, since at least 2011. It's an escalation of ethnic and religious tensions that plague the country. Nigeria's northwest states are home to nomadic herders. They began clashing with farmers in the region. This happened in the late 1990s. The herders were mostly Muslim. The farmers were predominantly Christians. So, the conflict eventually took on a religious angle. After this, terrorist groups got involved. Some of the herders started working with terrorists from Boko Haram and the Islamic State, and that further escalated the violence in Nigeria. The bandit groups now attack villages, kill some of the residents, and kidnap others for ransom to help fund further attacks. It's a vicious cycle. The Nigerian government has tried fighting these groups for years. After every attack, the government retaliates, but to little effect. The bandit militias operate out of a thickly forested area in the country's northwest. They slink back into their forest hideouts after every attack, and that's why they've been so hard to stop. Successive Nigerian governments have tried bringing about an end to the attacks. They've conducted raids, airstrikes, slain dozens of the bandits. They've even offered amnesty deals to try and get the bandits to surrender. But so far, all their attempts have yielded no results. The locals are tired of the Nigerian government's failure, and have been for a while now.
Now, we only need peace and security, and we are still calling on the government to come to our aid. We farmers remain insecure because these people are still operating in the areas that surround our farms.
International groups have called out the Nigerian government's weak response. They say that this failure is becoming the norm. Unless the Nigerian government acts decisively, such horrific attacks will become more routine.